Hi everyone, Armoured Pants here, and I have another tank for you in the Russian line. This is the Tier 6 light tank, the MT-25, and as always we have a complete guide and we will look at tech spec. But before we look at tech spec, let's talk about something a little bit different. This is a very difficult tank to play. The question asked is, what's for dinner? Now there's several reasons why this is a difficult tank to play. Firstly, you're up against Tier 6s and Tier 7s, as this is a Tier 6, and there's some big guns out there. KV2 we all know about, but also then you've got big tank killers up there. And you have zero armor, there's no angles on the tank, and basically it's a box on tracks. So therefore, if you're not careful, it's you that's for dinner, it's you that's on the menu. And you can have a very, very short game, and this tank can be very frustrating if you don't play it properly. So watch the light tank guide if you haven't watched already, the light tank guide on channel, because this tank is very typical of light tanks and should be played so. It is in fact a quintessential light tank, and therefore you can play it as you would play any light tank, and you can actually follow the numbers, play by numbers or color by numbers. Now we need to note that this is a low caliber gun, and even the top gun is 57mm, and you need to get that ASAP, because just think about it, you're going to be up tiered against Tier 7s in this thing. It has lower burst damage, but that's only in theory. The effective DPM is much better because it's higher caliber, and we've spoken before about the theory versus practice, or theoretical DPM versus actual DPM, and I've been asked to explain this a little bit more detail, so let's have a look at it. So theoretical DPM is the average damage per shell multiplied by the shells fired per minute, right? Simple. But that assumes that all shells penetrate to give you this theoretical DPM. So when you see DPM numbers, that's what they're talking about. Actual DPM, on the other hand, is the actual shell damage per shell by the shells that actually penetrate. So non-penetrating shells are excluded. Therefore, some of the things that affect the actual DPM versus theoretical are shell caliber, penetration numbers, muzzle velocity, shell type, whether you use AP, APCR, etc. So your actual DPM is all that counts. The theoretical DPM doesn't matter, because if you don't pen, then the theoretical DPM is irrelevant. The actual DPM is what matters, and that's why you have, for example, increasing muzzle velocity, using different shells like APCR to make sure you pen, etc. is so important. We've discussed the formula for shell penetration before. If we look at this, is the F formula developed by the US Navy back in 1910, but is used by many other armed services both in the US and abroad. As you can see, muzzle velocity is squared, therefore muzzle velocity has an exponentially better effect on potential shell penetration. And that's why we use muzzle velocity, that's why we use supercharged to get muzzle velocity up all the time. And that's why here it says the lower caliber gun has higher DPM, but that's theoretical DPM. The 57mm gun has better actual DPM because it pens more often, and that's what we need to think about. That is game theory and understanding the physics and the mathematics involved. So supercharge is essential on this because it's such a low caliber gun, only 57mm, which is really low for Tier 6 and playing up against Tier 7s. It's an up close and personal tank. This tank you need to really get in near the enemy because of that small caliber gun, but of course that is close. That is risky. But you need to get in close in this gun, with this gun and this tank, and it has the speed and agility to do that, to get in behind the enemy. It's very much an ambush tank, very much plays like the AMX range, which we have a full the whole line done on this channel, and I've often described them as ambush tanks. You should be coming up behind and to the side of tanks. This is not a front-on tank, it is a light tank, and that's how light tanks should be played. And as I said, you should play this tank as color by numbers light tank, as we have in the guide. Do all of those things. Now you can see it has a little bit of relative armor on the sides, but basically it's a box on tracks with no armor, and you can't really play to get any bounces. As we said, if you look, you will be able to create some high relative armor angles on the side, but you can't play for this because really when you're flat on, you've no armor. So therefore any bounces you get, for example, if you're moving at high speed in this tank and this tank is really fast, you may get a bounce, but you should just take that as a bonus. You should not play for bounces in this tank because you are that box on tracks with no armor whatsoever, and you're going to get HE fired at you all day, and HE doesn't really bounce, and you are going to get a lot of damage. And if you do get a bounce along the way, just take that as a bonus, because that's what it is. Now we can see here the tracks are small targets, but they are exposed. You need 2 repair kits on this. You do not want to get tracked out in the open, particularly if there's a KV2 on the other team. You will just die. You're one shot for him. And there are many other big guns that can one shot you at tier 6 and tier 7. So you do not want to get tracked and caught out in the open in this tank. You can see here, if you look at the armor performance, you may get a bounce if you're top tier. Otherwise, you're going to assume you're going to be penned by everything. Now, in terms of tactics, as we said, this is a typical light tank, so play it by the numbers. Therefore, the first minute of the game is key for you. Why? Because the big guns in your team are unspotted, so therefore you're in danger. You're on the menu, you are for dinner. So get out there and spot. Help yourself and your team. Use the speed of the tank, spot up the enemy, because once they're spotted up, you know where the big guns are, you know where the KV2 is. The map is yours. You're so fast, you can get around, move around the map, get in behind the enemy, ambush them, and use the autoloader magazine on this. Put in that big burst damage between 350 400 every time, and you will really have a successful game. But before those big guns are spotted up, you need to be cautious. So move to and from cover to spot up those guns. Now in this game, this is exactly what I do. So firstly I decide to go and scout up at A, but as I often do in light tanks, I actually drive past the base to try to catch the enemy while it's still moving, still getting into position. Using the speed of the tank, I'm going to keep in soft cover here, and then this tactic is going to pay off for me here, because look at this. This is really what you should be doing. Bingo. Just about as I come around a rock here, come out from hard cover, look at this. I spot those 2 Restore Emeralds trying to move into position. Fire up into the back of them. So this is really perfect light tank play. This is exactly what I was talking about. I have moved out, used the speed of the tank, moving from soft cover to hard cover, and I spot up their big guns. Both of their Restore Emeralds spotted up. So not only do I know where they are, so now it's safe for me to move around the map, but also my teammates know where they are, and they can start to put in some damage onto these guys. And I actually was able to do over 200 damage on the rearmost Restore Emerald, and now I am able to get out of there, just use my speed, back up, stay in cover. These 2 guys now are spotted up. We've also spotted up most of the enemy team, and now I can move around the map with impunity because I know where everybody is. Simple. Now I can snipe from across the valley here, or I can move to cap, and I'm going to cap A now, which is what a light tank should do. Also, this is a supremacy game, and we are aware that in supremacy games points are important, so I need to cap. This is really solid light tank play, exactly following what we said in the guide, exactly following what we said when we looked at the tech spec, when we discussed tactics. Get out there, scout, spot up the enemy, find those big guns, and then I can cap with in safety. Because I know there's nobody near A, their big guns don't know where I am, and I'm very easy for me to cap in safety. Simple, one of the easiest caps you'll ever do. Tried to put some shots in, some blind shots into the IS, very speculative, but it didn't really matter. The magazine has a fast reload, it's left less than 10 seconds, which is really great. Now that Restore Emerald has moved up, he's trying to follow me, but he's not going to get anywhere near me with the speed of that tank. So due to the good work I did earlier, I can now cap B in safety. I know that I am not in any risk. I know where their big guns are, I know where their heavies are, I know where the Restore Emeralds are, and therefore I can cap in safety. And I've also isolated now this Jagdpanzer who thought he would come along and see if he can have a nice meal. You see if you can dine on this MT-25 little snack. Now, I take 1 from him, but that's the only shot he gets in on me. Also, it was a HE that didn't do its full pen. So I got 85 hit points lost, and I'm actually able to clear him off completely. Now look at how mobile this tank is. I'm actually able to go around him going up the hills, and that's just the engine power and the mobility of this tank. So I'm able to clear him off. Now you can see here, circle of death, just how good this tank is. I'm even able to go up on the hills and around him, and he's just not able to. And by the way, we know from the Jagdpanzer 4 review that we did that it is an extremely good brawler, great rate of fire and really fast traverse. I don't have much space here for going around him, that's why I go up on the hills, but you can see just how mobile this tank is. So that is a fairly good exchange in terms of hit points. I gave away 85, cleared off that Jagdpanzer, and that Jagdpanzer, even up to tier 6 in this tier 7 game, is a very dangerous tank because of that gun it has, and that rate of fire is phenomenal, and he can do a lot of damage. But we managed to clear him off, so really happy with that. Then we have a 4v2 situation, and I know where those Steyr Emils are. So I double tap on the shell icon to get my full magazine reload. As you can see, reloads very quickly, and I'm going to come up now behind those Steyr Emils. Now again, this is classic light tank play. I'm going around a long way. I'm not being lazy and going straight towards them. I'm going around a long way. I know that they're sniping across using their amazing gun depression, which the Steyr Emil has, to fire across the valley. And now I'm up behind them, clear off one. The second guy is not going to have a chance. You see how effective the burst damage is. You can clear off tanks with lower hit points like that, and I've just tormented these poor Emils for the whole game. I just totally ruined their game. I spotted them up at the start when they weren't even in position, damaged one, and spotted them both up for the enemy. I drew them away from the sniping positions they wanted to go to at the back of the map towards C to support their heavies. Drew them into a position out in the open where they did not want to be. Drew them in to try to cap. And now we see, again, this is really how a light tank should deal with a non-turreted TD. Just stay behind him, and it doesn't matter how good the player is, what type of gun he has. You know, it can be the best super unicum in the world with an 80% win rate. There is nothing he can do once you stay behind him like this. Absolutely nothing. You're not letting him back up, so he can't get into cover, and you are just pummeling him from behind. And there really is absolutely nothing. And you can be a 35% win rate player, and he could be, as I said, 75 or 80% win rate player. If you do this to him in your light tank, there is nothing he can do. The only tactic he really has is to back up so that you can't get in behind him. But if you're behind him already, that tactic is not open to him, and he will die. It's only a matter of time. He basically has as long as it takes for you to reload to kill him. That's basically his life expectancy. So there we are. We see that really solid light tank game. I think it was really a great example of how to play this or any light tank. All the key tasks done. Getting out there early, spotting up, scouting, finding their big guns, then knowing the location of those big guns and the reds, moving around the map with impunity. I've often said the phrase, the map is yours, and this game is a perfect example of that in action. That map was mine. I could move around that map without any fear whatsoever, and I was able to cap, spot, and then to circle of death their tank destroyers. So key points: this is a fantastic light tank, and it's everything you want from this genre of tank. It really has all the characteristics, speed, etc. But you need to be aware of its limitations, and as we said, the first minute of the game is key. It is the most dangerous for you. But help yourself. Get out there and spot and find those reds, especially the big guns, the ones that can one-shot you. Once those big guns are spotted, the HE monsters that are hungry for you, because once they check the setup and see you there, they're loading up HE just waiting for you to pop up. Once you know where they are, then you are off the menu, and the map is yours to move around with impunity. Use the speed of the tank to cap, to ambush, to just basically, manipulate the game to your advantage. Get the top gun ASAP in this tank. You really need it. A new supercharger refined gun. maximize your actual DPM, as we discussed, and know the rules. What is the difference between actual DPM and theoretical DPM? But most of all, because this is a game, guys, get out there and have fun. Light tanks are the most fun, right? By far. This is a great light tank. It's also great training for the LTTB, which is another brilliant tank which comes after it. But take your time here and enjoy this little tank, because it is great fun. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. Cheers, Mush, and I guess all that remains for me to say is pants off.